This is More Knowledge, More Wealth with your host, Gabriel Shahin. Gabriel is a certified financial planner and a registered investment advisor at Falcon Wealth Planning. This show does not intend to provide personalized investment advice through this broadcast and does not represent that the services or securities discussed are suitable for any investor. Investors are advised not to rely on any information contained in the broadcast in the process of making a full informed investment decision. Now here's your host, Gabriel Shahin.
Good day, this is Gabriel Shahin, certified financial planner and your host of More Knowledge, More Wealth here on every weekend, talking about all important topics of personal finance. My job is to go over the knowledge you need to increase your wealth. Now, to the listener, you can always reach out to myself or any one of our colleagues here at Falcon Wealth Planning. Our phone number is 855-963-2526. That's 855-96-FALCON, like the bird. Or visit our website at falconwealthplanning.com. That's falconwp.com for short, where you can get this episode and any one of our previous episodes as well. And don't forget to visit our Knowledge Center, where there's so many good topics that we go over and we discuss, and we have YouTubes on that. We have almost 1 million views on that. And how do we get that? Based on your inquiry. So if you have one and want something you want us to discuss on the show or through our Knowledge Center, please send your inquiry to radio@falconwp.com. That's radio@falconwp.com. Now, I'm the president of Falcon Wealth Planning. We are a fee-only, non-commissioned, true fiduciary, folks. We go over all important topics of personal finance. Doesn't matter where you are. If you're in retirement, out of retirement, looking for Social Security, investments, taxes, estate planning, folks, you name it, anything that involves a dollar sign, we can help you with. We're offering 1 to 2 meetings, 1 to 2 hours of our time, folks, at no cost, really to help relate this show to your specific situation. Give us a call. We got offices all over. It doesn't matter where you're at. Our phone number is 855-963-2526. That's 855-96-FALCON, like the bird. Folks, whew, that's a mouthful to get started. I want to introduce one of my colleagues here, good friends. His name is Kevin Mayo, works here at Falcon Wealth Planning as a managing director, folks. So he handles a lot behind the scenes, helps manage the advisors, and helps in our growth. Kevin Mayo, welcome to the show.
My pleasure to finally be on.
I know, right? We talk about it often. It's okay. We find out it's more advisors that listen to this thing than anything. So kind of fun stuff. But
well, hello everybody out there in TV land or YouTube land.
Exactly. We do have a video cast of this. I know a majority of our listeners catch us on the podcast, iHeartRadio, or Spotify. But Kevin, we've known each other well over a decade, probably 15 years at least.
I would say so, yeah.
And so obviously we've grown to have a very good friendship, but really it's all started as just us being colleagues together. And I know, people know who you are. It's kind of funny. Everybody says, oh, we have a saying, you don't know who I think I am. What's your saying it's kind of funny?
Do you have any idea who I think I am?
Yeah, it's a funny comment, right? But the funny thing is everybody knows who Kevin Mayo is. He's a legend in the industry. So he has 20 years of experience, probably at least. But I would just love to hear you chose Falcon. You when you worked at TD Ameritrade, you just worked with some of the top firms in the country. Some of them you even helped bring on board to be some of the behemoths they are today. But the point is that, just tell me a little bit about your background. Obviously, you have a passion for this. And then just more importantly, you're here at Falcon. It's been going on 4 years. I'd love to, long overdue for an interview, but I would love to just hear a little bit about that.
Well, so my background was I worked on the retail side of the discount brokerage business. I worked in the branch networks through a lot of the growth phases that the industry saw. Basically, when I first started, the internet was just starting as a platform that people could trade directly on. And as that evolved, the discount brokerage firm was really just a facilitator. But what happened over time was there was recognition that it was a revenue stream that trades over time were going to be becoming more commoditized. And so what all the firms knew they needed to do was have a guidance offering that they could attach a revenue center around. And that developed into being a referral network for RIA firms like Falcon is today. So my teams in particular really looked at that as a great way to position ourselves to really fit the entire spectrum of investors, I should say. And that went from the people that really wanted all the tools, the bells and whistles to do everything on their own, to people who realized, especially during the downturns of the technology bubble and things like that, that you really had to be thoughtful about this. And if you don't do it right, if you can't dedicate the time, you don't have the emotional fortitude, intellectual desire to be really digging deep into doing your own research, that you could cause yourself a great deal of harm. And so what people realized is, yeah, that was okay to go set up a $5,000, $10,000 account, trade some stocks. But, once all of a sudden you're going to roll out of your retirement plan with $500,000, $1 million, this is no joke. And, you can't just go out and do this on your own. So
like the ultimate DIYer. Yeah. So your target client, TD Ameritrade, almost had two worlds, or the discount broker that goes for Schwab, Fidelity, and so on. One is DIYers. And you're right. You kind of think about it. We don't all start with rolling over our life savings to start managing it. You do start off with that $10,000 to $20,000. So it's kind of interesting. It's so you said there was a second piece to that. So there was two revenue models for discount brokers, and I know Fidelity and Schwab have that today as well. They have the one side, hey, we'll let you trade on your own, but it sounds like there's also an advice side. Tell me a little bit more about that, because obviously you got to meet some firms, and then eventually you decided, hey, Falcon Wealth sounds like one I want to join.
Yeah, so, they realized that there was a gap in offering. And TD Ameritrade in particular was very good in understanding that they wanted to, just like they provided services to individual investors, they also provided a custodialship and services to the RIA firms that are out there. And what they realized, though, is they didn't want to be in conflict with them. So what they did was they said, well, wait a minute, we've got people that are looking for help and guidance. They may do some trades with us, but then eventually what would happen is you would determine they would be at a wirehouse, they'd be at a Morgan Stanley or a Merrill Lynch. And it was because they were seeking guidance that we decided, hey, we need to be able to offer something in that space. And we thought, why not take those registered investment advisory partners we already have and offer them the chance to be introduced to retail clients that are looking for guidance, so that they could see what that offering looks like when you're talking about dealing with a fee-only type of advisor, not trying to sell a specific house product.
Right.
And it was a very good match and a very good offering and a very cost-effective offering for the client.
For the end user.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just interesting stuff, because obviously I work there, right? So I got to learn from them what are some of these quote unquote top firms doing. And that was really the basis of creating Falcon Wealth. By the way, folks, if you're just joining us, you're listening to Gabriel Shahin, certified financial planner, and your host of More Knowledge, More Wealth here on every weekend, talking about all important topics of personal finance. And today I'm just interviewing here. I wanted to sit down with my good colleague here, Kevin Mayo, certified financial planner, MBA, so on and so forth. But really the experience that he has working at these discount brokers like a Charles Schwab and a Fidelity. TD Ameritrade doesn't exist anymore. As crazy as that sounds, they are now part of Charles Schwab. And so obviously Kevin was before that here. So in hindsight, that was a good move. But kind of discussing more about that. I'll just share kind of from my experience what it felt like, but I'd love it from your side of it as well. I felt there were some really good firms out there that was part of their network. They can't just refer to anybody at TD, and same thing with Schwab and Fidelity. So there were some good firms, there were some not good firms. And what I noticed with some of the good firms that were out there is that they were able to have and build a good relationship. And that's where I felt like in general, there's two sides to wanting to hire somebody. You have the firm capability, then you have the person, right? You have to connect with people before the firm. And so you can have a fantastic person, advisor, a rep that's essentially selling you, but the firm's not that great. And so you could see success in certain regions for some of these firms that were doing very, very well. So there was firms that were fantastic, but the reps were not very good. They were too technical. They didn't have that balance where they could communicate, articulate value. So really what I tried to do when I built out Falcon Wealth is, and it was, in hindsight, it was kind of genius. It was unintentional, but I was able to work with these companies to see what makes them so special and great. And what I noticed is not everybody could do everything that another firm could do. We built Falcon Wealth with the intention where we could do everything. And so there's never a client we can say we cannot help you, or nope, you're not a good fit for us. I don't like that. I would rather have you say we're not a good fit for you. And maybe the only reason we're not a good fit is because you don't like the curls on my hair or the beard that I have, or maybe I can be annoying at times. So the idea, I guess, just on your end, that's what I saw. You had a much kind of higher, bigger overview. I would love your just input on something like that.
Well, it was really important to make sure that you leverage all the partners from where I sat, because I sat in a management role. So you always wanted to make sure that you used all the various RIA partners that you had availability, but it was clear that there were ones that had better field representation. There were ones that had a better maybe offering, that other kind of differentiators. And so my job was just to make sure that my team used those partners in a way that helped them grow their business. And it was a mutually beneficial relationship. So in some cases, a high-level salesperson like you were, Gabriel, you could take maybe a weaker field rep from an outside firm and cover them a little bit because you were so good at sales, because you knew that the underlying capabilities of the firm was a good fit for the client that you were trying to position, right? Yeah. So at the same time, there were folks that maybe weren't as impactful a salesperson in their role, and it would be better for them to partner with a very effective salesperson from an outside firm. So I looked at it as a way of just kind of multiplying your efforts. And so I used to commonly say, give me 1% of 100 people's efforts instead of just 100% of my own. And I think that's kind of one of the things that really allowed us to excel in that space. And that was what we were known for.
I love this. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick break, and we're going to come back because I kind of flirted with, there's a gray area to this. And when we come back, we're going to look at it from two angles. We're going to see kind of the behavioral finance side for the DIYers and people who do it on their own, but also on the advisory side. Like, what are some of the negatives of some of the firms that are out there, of what they say they do versus what they actually do? And then, of course, we'll talk about our intentions here at Falcon Wealth Planning on what we do. Folks, we'll be right back after a few words. This is Gabriel Shahin, Certified Financial Planner, your host of More Knowledge, More Wealth. That's on every weekend. We're going over all important topics of personal finance. We're going over retirement planning, making sure you're prepared for retirement, Social Security and strategies, real estate, taxes, avoiding them now and in the future, investments, reducing fees, commissions, and so on, insurance, and estate planning. Folks, we are offering a free financial assessment that you could take advantage of. We have offices all across Southern California, including the Inland Empire. Give us a call to take advantage. Our phone number is 855-963-2526. That's 855-96-FALCON, like the bird, or visit our website, falconwealthplanning.com. That's falconwp.com for short. Enjoy the show. We look forward to serving you. Welcome back, folks. This is Gabriel Shahin, Certified Financial Planner, and your host of More Knowledge, More Wealth, here on every weekend, talking about all important topics of personal finance. Today, we got Kevin Mayo here, Certified Financial Planner, MBA, years of experience in the industry, and we're talking about his experience at the discount broker of TD Ameritrade, which is now Charles Schwab. So he's our guest today. Welcome, Kevin. Welcome back for a segment. We're already here talking. So I just want to discuss now, like, the gray areas, the annoying parts. So there's two sides of what we can help people on today's show. Number one is a lot of people who listen to the show are in the industry. Mm-hmm. So we can discuss, like, some of these firms out there, these behemoths, these mega IRAs, these great firms, quote unquote, great firms out there. And we know what we do. We see us winning business over them when we, I guess, are shopped and compared to them. So we could talk about that. And then the other side, just individual investors. People still manage their own money. Mm-hmm. What are maybe some of the biggest mistakes you've seen there?
Well, it's tough when you manage your own money. There is an emotional attachment that just is hard to shed, even for professionals. And so that's a, there's all the things in behavioral finance, confirmation bias and, anchoring and all the other stuff that is just out there using technical terms. But just in general, it's hard to remove oneself from the analytical, clinical approach that you have to take when you're looking at investment management, portfolio construction, and rebalancing and the things that just have to occur on a regular basis.
It's funny, and I just remember because TD Ameritrade acquired a company, I want to say it was in 2009, called Thinkorswim. And now with like Tom Sosnoff, his beret, some people may know who that is. Now Charles Schwab has acquired that as well. And I remember just thinking about this. We're doing like March Madness and basketball, right? And so you and I could be NBA analysts. Mm-hmm. We see maybe 4 different types of players. The first player Kevin and I may see is, let's just say, a 7'2" African-American male. Without even seeing them play, some people may assume that's probably somebody I want on my team. Mm-hmm. Somebody else might say, are they playing at North Carolina, Duke? That probably means they're pretty good. Mm-hmm. Somebody else might say, you know what, I just want to see the stats. Show me the highest score in the nation. We don't care what school they play for, what conference. I want to look at stats. Somebody else might say, I just want to see them play. I want the eye test. I want to see their savviness. So, and so on. Some people may just want to interview them to see how knowledgeable they are at the sport. These are different types of analysts. Kevin may have his way of asking these questions, analyzing a basketball player. I may have my own. And by the way, I played basketball. I don't think Kevin did. No. So there is a difference. Now, it's funny in investments. There is fundamental analysis, technical analysis, aggregated analysis, quantitative analysis. There's so many different ways to analyze a stock, which is why sometimes we put CNBC, somebody says sell, sell, sell. Then you go to Fox Business and they say buy, buy, buy. Mm-hmm. So they're literally looking at 2 different things.
Every time there's a seller, there's a buyer.
That's a great point. And that's the market. I love that. So, just any common mistakes, I guess. Obviously getting people from an emotional point of view. Any common mistakes, like right now, NVIDIA, people are talking about NVIDIA. Anything like that, or even maybe from the advisory side, maybe just people being stringent, or now Bitcoin's a big thing. I would love to just kind of hear just in general. Obviously, these are new topics, mm-hmm. but when gold ETF came out, what was it, 2004? So 2002? Early 2002. I don't know, just curious input. I was just getting into the industry at that time.
Well, obviously, there's a lot of changes. The dynamic nature of technology, of the platforms, of the way investments can be structured is ever changing. But you have to understand it at the core. Some of those parables that you're taught growing up, don't put all your eggs in one basket, slow and steady win the race. These things are they're truisms. They don't change with the times, although there may be periods of times where it feels like the old rules don't apply. But any time anybody ever tells you that this market is different, I want you to be very wary, because in the end, they thought it was different when the internet came, right? And maybe we're seeing something different with the way artificial intelligence is. The internet was a game changer, but some things got stretched so far out of whack that, business models that in any other time wouldn't even have made it a couple of years were able to stretch out and have a life of a handful of years, even though they're burning through cash faster. Right. So those kinds of mistakes that people make because something innovative comes around, in the end, there still has to be a fundamentally good business model in place.
That's kind of like the Warren Buffett concept a little bit, right? At the end of the day, understand the business. Is it a good business model? Mm-hmm. That's so it sounds like the truisms of that just still apply, whether it's for individual investors in general. Because I know there's a term called zombie stocks, companies that are just bleeding money, mm-hmm. that was able to get dirt cheap debt that are, quite frankly, no way able to refinance them in a investment grade rated bond. And these banks are almost forced to refinance them or they're going to go belly up and they're going to lose out on the assets. So they're almost like begging and banking for these bonds to go well. So it's definitely interesting. By the way, folks, if you're just joining us, you're listening to Gabriel Shahin, certified financial planner, and your host of More Knowledge, More Wealth here, and every weekend talking about all important topics of personal finance. And by the way, folks, if you want to discuss more about this, whether it's a discount broker, maybe you're working with an advisor at a Charles Schwab, at a Fidelity, at an E-Trade, at somewhere else like that, at your local bank, whether it's Wells Fargo has Wells Trade, Bank of America has Merrill Edge, something like that, feel free to reach out. We can take a look at what you're doing and give you advice and help in your situation, just to make sure that you have a true unbiased opinion of what's going on, which leads to kind of my conversation with the other firms that are out there. So obviously, we're one of many. We're blessed where we've grown, and we're definitely one of the larger ones that are out there, but there are also a lot of firms out there. And so you and I have a unique seat because we were able to see these other firms out there. I mean, I have, for myself, I was able to see kind of what was good, which we talked about that, but at the same time, maybe some things that weren't as advertised. I would just be curious of maybe some questions to ask, so on and so forth, maybe if you are working or getting a referral from an advisor from a trusted custodian.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we talk about a lot in our business is the fact that taxation isn't a more core component of the conversation you have with somebody that puts themselves out there as a financial advisor. Taxes are the most important document that you have. And if you talk to people around investment management, investment analysis, and just overall financial planning, and the conversation doesn't really kind of center around your tax situation, it's kind of hard to understand how you can really make thoughtful decisions, because you got to think about what tax bracket am I in? How should I take income, not only now, but in retirement? Where should I get that income? What about capital gains? What type of investment should I hold in a given account? Because different accounts, the way the money leaves that account and how it's taxed as it leaves that account.
Right.
Income gets paid into an account. And even though it's paid into the account and you may not take it out, you may be assessed a tax against that. So, these probably one of the biggest pitfalls is if you're looking at investment management in a vacuum, simply around the performance of a given portfolio or security or strategy, and it's not in a holistic situation where you're understanding how does this investment fit in with other investments, maybe outside real estate investments,
Right.
business investments.
Is it
things like that.
comprehensive? Is it holistic? That's such a good point. We see that often, and new things come up. Like we just don't know. Like I said, maybe Bitcoin earlier.
Yeah.
Like some people are inquiring about Bitcoin. Like, should that be in my portfolio? Well, I don't know. How much risk are you comfortable to take? We probably wouldn't recommend over 5%. Realistically, maybe 1 to 2.
Yeah.
And is it necessary? Maybe not, but if you have an inkling for being aggressive, maybe it could make sense. The fact is we're comfortable always to have conversations that are enhanced. We're at the forefront of change. Taxes is a big one. It's people's biggest expense if they realize it or not. But then it's almost like sometimes there's a business consulting side of what we do. Obviously, tax planning, what we do, complex estate planning that we do, bringing family and second gen, sometimes even third generation involved. So it's just interesting because another thing that I see is that also you have firms out there that, quite frankly, overpromise and underdeliver. It's very easy just to get the business, and other firms out there say, hey, we have to do what's in your best interest. We're fiduciaries. They say that word all the time, the F word, the fiduciary word. But if they're not fee only, if they're still having their Series 7 licenses, which means it's a license where they can still generate commission, they're not always a fiduciary. That's why we kind of made up the term true fiduciary, because as a fee only, which is such a limited part of our industry, we're always 100% of the time. The way our compensated model is created is to make sure our advisors are always in your best interest. And so it's just interesting because we do build out training programs and scenarios that come up for the sole reason of continuous learning. Because it's not, you can't just stay stagnant. What we know today, we can't add any more to our arsenal. Our bat belt continually has new tools that are added to accommodate you, to accommodate a situation 20 years ago if somebody wanted to buy gold in a IRA, to somebody who wants Bitcoin, to God knows what comes up in the future. We're not saying to go chase the next shiny thing. We're trying
Absolutely
not. But we are saying let's have an educated conversation. And our job, Kevin said something amazing, and that's of real estate in general as well. That's a massive part and can be a massive part of a portfolio. How can you neglect that? You know what? I just had a conversation, I was telling you, from a referral from one of our clients, has a third generation business.
Yeah.
And he's
very
like,
rare.
And exactly, very rare. And he goes, yeah, I talked to an advisor, and what does he recommend? Sell this property and give me the money to manage. Like, really? He doesn't understand. The advisor doesn't understand the tax complications, implications, where the asset is held in the location of the city, which the city that it's in Southern California. Like you can't just be so blind and just say, you have to be able to look at it, understand it, dissect it for a full analysis. Folks, that was a fast show. Kevin, this was awesome. I really appreciate it. We got to do this more often.
Yep.
And so
Look forward to it.
But folks, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Our phone number is 855-963-2526. That's 855-96-FALCON, like the bird. Or visit our website at falconwealthplanning.com. That's falconwp.com for short, where you can get this episode or any one of our previous episodes as well. And also visit our Knowledge Center. It has so many good tools on there to help answer specific questions you may have. If you want us to answer something on the show or even record yourself and have us play it on the show to answer your question, send that to radio@falconwp.com. That's radio@falconwp.com. Folks, thank you for tuning in with us. We want you to have a fantastic weekend. Have a great week, and God bless.